I'm gonna start off by saying what I have in mind. I'm not gonna be like PewDiePie nowadays, he's boring. He used to be very controversial in the beginning, and it attracted a lot of views, and that's how he got really big in the world. And now that he's stopped, he's become less and less relevant, and that should tell you something. I now hate him because he's always so family friendly, and I don't think he's actually scared of the media or anything like that, but he's lost his fire. He doesn't want to get into controversies anymore, and I believe he was a genius when it comes to controversy when the time came. And controversy, if you haven't realized yet, is the main point of this video, because I've read the 48 Laws of Power, I've read The Prince. These books tell you to kiss your boss's ass and never outshining the master, and The Prince, where he basically tells you how to govern, and principles. They're both telling you principles. They're not telling you the exact way to get popular, but they're telling you principles on how to keep your power. But then again, after I've read the book, I've noticed something. What am I gonna do? Like, I've read your book, but what am I supposed to do now? How am I gonna get that power in order to be able to govern these countries that I've conquered and kill their main family so that it doesn't make any sense telling me how to be a leader when I'm still a pawn. Of course, I know that you're not chasing fame for any righteous reason. You're not chasing fame to one day become someone who can help people. You're just chasing it because you are an attention whore, and at the same time you're scared of attention, which makes you even more of a. But of course that only applies for just above 99.9% of people, which would make 100%. It's keeping it controversial, and about keeping it controversial, it's just what I'm doing right now. All of this video so far has been made to attract your attention and nothing more, and I could have went overboard like Billie Eilish is out. Of course, I was only saying this just to prove a point and have it be as an example, and even that point where I made these quotation marks, it's also to keep it controversial. All this is to mainly have it be as controversial as possible, so that two things may arise. Three things: get more views, get more comments, and guarantee that you'll watch that video that comes after that one. And that's all good stuff that you get from being controversial. Why would I care about these three things and not the subscribers and likes? Because the subscribers don't really play a role in getting you views each and every video and in getting you money and fame in general, because there are YouTubers which have 100 million subscribers and yet they're not getting as much attention because they fell off, they're not relevant anymore, they're not talking about anything relevant, it's boring now. And so having many subscribers, even if it's 100 million, still doesn't guarantee that you will be capped at a certain type of views each and every video. It's about what you say and how you say it. It's not even about how you look. Like, bro, look at me here, I'm filming from this camera, which isn't so good. I have this microphone, and not a very good one. I want to look better than this in my videos. I want to have a better background, but it doesn't really matter. You need to work with what you have, and all that I've mentioned right now won't be what gets you to watch the next video. That's why even if TV channels have the best equipment of all time and it's all so beautiful and crisp, you still won't watch. Come on, that shit is boring. So it's all about what you say and how you say it, and keeping it controversial. And this is one thing that neither of those books have ever mentioned. This is one thing that the 48 Laws of Power never included in their book, and I'm not sure who was the author, but I believe both authors missed that point, which is that you should at least be true, because if you don't have a personality of your own, and if you're all the time a people's pleaser, I mean, what happens to people pleasers? I'm sure that you'd be the first to tell me that. What happens to a people's pleaser is that they lose value. So it's a supply and demand thing. If we have a lot of supply of this guy, then we have low value for this guy also. So how do I kiss my boss's ass and also not be taken for granted for kissing his ass, so that I may rise to power in my company, in my country, in my friend group, in my area, in the street? And this brings me to a point: you shouldn't be a people's pleaser to begin with. No matter what these books say, you need to have your own type of charisma and your own type of self-respect. And I know you've been told this a lot of times, but then these 2 points contradict, and that's what I'm going to explain here, apart from being controversial. You know this one guy on the street, and this is an example of my own street. There is this guy who is always so charismatic. He pulls all the chicks. He's always the manliest man in the street. He's one who fights for the right, but he's dazzling to be around. First thing, if you have ever noticed, is that some people, including this guy, they don't look at you when they're walking in the street. Not a single time did I walk past that guy did he ever give me a second look. If he had ever looked at me once, I still remember that to this day. So how come do these people, when they look at you, they don't look at people not because they are scared to. Actually, when they look at you, you'll feel nervous, and that's how they get a lot of chicks, and they get a lot of attention and a lot of charisma, and they are noticed even by being silent. And a lot goes into play. Of course, he's controversial by standing for the right. Not always are we gonna stand for the right, and there are a lot of examples when it comes to that, and I'll get more in detail with that. But if we're talking about this guy, he's minding his own business, he's respecting himself, and he's also focusing on himself, not on what people think. If you walk in a room, I know what you'll be doing. You'll be looking at every person's face, not to recognize them or to see if you like them, to see if they like you, to see what they think about you. If I was sitting in that room and someone walks in, and that person walks straight to their chair, not batting me an eye, I will feel like I've lost something, because I feel like I was expecting them to look at me. Anyone who walks into a room, he looks at everyone in the room, then goes to sit down. He looks at anyone who he knows in the room to say hi. I was expecting to say hi to this person, and he didn't say hi to me. I feel like I've lost something. But if I wasn't looking when they came in, and they didn't look at me, if they looked at me, they will feel the same hurt that I felt, but I'll be more charismatic in their eyes and heart. But if they didn't look at me, and I noticed that they didn't look at me, but I wasn't even looking at them, I would feel like I've won. Why did I just feel a little bit of accomplishment? Because I wasn't looking for my happiness or my worth in another person. I wasn't expecting anything from them, therefore I've lost nothing, and expectations ruin everything. And so I want you to start not looking at people, because I know that when you're walking down the street, all you're doing is looking at everyone's faces, and you just want to know what they think of you and what they see. Do they like what they see? Do they like me? That's such a selfish thing, more selfish than you not looking at people. And there's a funny analogy here about a guy, his son, and a donkey. And he was riding on the donkey, and his kid was walking beside him, and he looked to the right, and he saw some people talking about him, and he heard them say, "Look at that guy, that evil guy," let's say, he will call him evil, riding the donkey and leaving his son walk beside him. So he heard that, and he felt like, how could these people say that? I am a great person, I'll let my son ride with me. So he tells his son, "Get up, ride the donkey with me," and they stumble upon more people. The more people said, "Look at these evil people. They are both riding the donkey, not caring for the donkey's back." So the father hears this and then says, "Okay, I'll get down from the donkey." He comes across more people on his journey, and those people, what do they say? They say, "Look at that idiot, spoiling his son and letting him ride on the donkey, and he's walking beside them." So he tells his son, "Get the fuck down." And they're suddenly both walking beside the donkey, and still the people say, "Look at those idiots, they have a donkey with them, yet nobody's riding it." And at the beginning of that story, the donkey didn't care, the guy didn't care, and the son didn't care. They were all happy until they heard what people had to say. So at the end of that story, the mistake was on that guy. The mistake was on the father who cared about what people had to say to begin with. When you die, God is gonna ask you, "What did you do with what I gave you?" And you're gonna tell God that I didn't do anything, and I was scared to do everything with all the opportunities that I had. I just didn't want to look bad in front of people. Me, myself, I know that people like to judge more than they like to do. it's easier to judge this recording that I'm doing here than to hop in front of a camera like me and do it. It's easier to judge me than to open the camera, even if it's a bad one, even if you have a bad mic, even if you don't look that good. And at the end of all that, some people will live and die not having taken those chances because they were so scared of what people had to think. And so I can't always care what you have to think of me. I don't care what you think of me. And actually, I am not recording this for you. I'm not recording this for anybody. I'm recording this because I've heard one Islamic lecture about keeping knowledge, and God has bestowed upon you knowledge. You know something that most people don't, and that knowledge, if it's not shared, if you just keep it in for yourself, after God asks you, what did you do with my knowledge, you're going to tell him, I did not share it with anyone, and I kept it, and I did not use it, and I died with it. You should have done something with that knowledge that you've been given. You've been given a unique situation and you decided to do nothing with it. That's just your fault. And one more thing about being a people's pleaser, and it just defines the point even more. It's being hated for not being controversial. Like, for example, I hate PewDiePie for not being controversial. He doesn't say what he thinks. If I don't say what I think, you're probably not gonna care. But if you're a figure of a country, a leading star, a celebrity, and you decide to give the non-controversial answer, you're going to be hated. So a prime example, there's someone called Mohamed Salah. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's a famous football player. I'm not that big on football, but I think that he's done a major mistake that he will be asked about in the end, which is that he tweeted, and some of my friends told me about this, I wasn't really paying attention, but he tweeted that he wants peace for all. He wants peace about the Palestine situation. He wants peace for everyone involved in both parties. And so he's saying that he'd like peace for Palestine as much as he'd like peace for Israelis, which means that his whole tweet doesn't make any difference in the world. And I believe that if he hadn't tweeted it to begin with, because this is a meaningless tweet that I didn't want to see, and it shows you that he had to say something about it. And what he chose to say, and he knew that people were waiting on him to say something, he wanted to please everyone. He wanted to please his sponsors by saying this. Of course, he's an Egyptian like us, which means that unlike you, who might be American, you might not be so familiar with the situation. The only things that you might have heard would have been from the media, and so you might have misunderstood a couple of things and have had your views influenced or manipulated by those medias. But at the end of the day, we should be the ones who know the situation, meaning that we know that the Israelis are the one who took over the country, and I believe it's gonna end just like when France conquered Algeria, and that Algeria stands to be the top example of that, which is being that no matter what, as long as we stick to our principles and we stick to our beliefs, no matter how much they try to twist us around, we'll still come out victorious and we'll still be ourselves. They cannot strip us from our lands and our traditions, which is what I believe what will happen to Palestine, and that will be the end of it. For him to have known that this is a conqueror and this is the conquered, and to still wish them both well, didn't add anything to anything, basically, which made me hate him. Not just because of that, but because he went out on an advertisement with Pepsi. Pepsi is not a company that we support at the moment here in Egypt because of the Palestine situation. And so him not acknowledging any of that is a major blunder that he's done and has caused me to hate his guts. And me saying all of this and bringing this up and bringing these names, like saying Billie Eilish, is all of this is me trying to keep it as controversial as possible. I'm trying to stay true to the points that I'm explaining at the moment, and so me bringing all of these things up is designed to make this video as controversial as possible, so that I may know for 100% that you're gonna watch the video that I'm going to upload next, because you just will have this mystery in your head solved if you watch my next video of what am I gonna say next. And so that was it about being controversial. Being controversial will lead you to fame, but being too controversial will make you not be taken so seriously, because some people, a few in the world, have picked up, if you want to be famous, you need to have some controversy. And so some people are so controversial that people don't even take them seriously anymore. They cuss this, they cuss that president, they cuss this. They're so controversial all the time that they just look dumb, and it's hilarious to see them. But it's not just about manipulating your audience or influencing them, whatever you want to call it. It's really about saying the truth and what you feel. This all stems from the lack of charisma, filtering what you have to say for people. All of that plays a part in you not being famous and you not being recognized and not being the manager or the leader of your group or of all of that. All of my presentations and all the things that I do, I like to stay controversial, to not have the people in front of me sleep. And I usually don't talk this much, so you're very lucky to be hearing me talk this much, because I feel like it devalues me, and it does. Now I'll be talking to you much more from now on, because I feel like I do need to share my knowledge, and I'm not gonna be recycling anyone's content. I don't believe anybody's talking about the importance of being controversial. I believe they just use it, and you need to pick up on it with your consider subscribing, liking, sharing your views on this video. Since I have managed to tell you something that you didn't know, you need to improve yourself, and that's actually motivating to be something you're not right now.